Hi, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the live stream. This is for 34,000 subscribers and also talk about Six Flags New England's opening weekend. So, if anyone can hear me, just give a comment in the chat as usual, and then we'll get started. And I'll try to answer as many questions as possible, even if it's about egg salad. I don't know why there's a million of those in the chat, but I'll try my best. Um, so, let's see. I see Adrian's Films, Stanford Bridge, Keystone Coasters. Bongo Big Goose, Mr. Probro, uh, Moki Spartan, Coaster Mom, Leo B, Cashworth, Carlisle Coasters. Hello to all of you. Hello, Brian Barbara. So I guess I'll just start going through some of these, and like I said, I want to talk about Six Flags New England's opening day when I get a chance. So Leo B, do you ever think about random stuff, work, egg salad when you're on a roller coaster? Occasionally, but I try to obviously focus on the ride because that's why I'm there. Hello, Connor Hinks. Hello, that one capybara. Hello, Coast Thunder. Hello, Tazao. Hello, Coasting the Planet. Hello, Amanda Strad. Hello, Stan. Hello, Chandler Reams. Hello, Bongo Big Goose. Adrian's Films. What's the worst big coaster you ever rode? Um, I guess one that comes to mind that's a little disappointing for its size is the big one at Blackpool. It's a decent ride, but just for the sheer size of that coaster, it's not as good as it could be, especially with that setting. So I see a few questions about Six Flags New England, so I'll just jump into that. So Six Flags New England opened for the weekend and for the season this past weekend, and it was a little chillier than it has been in past years, and it was also really windy, which caused some issues. So I wasn't there on Saturday opening day, but I was there on Sunday, and apparently Superman never ran all day on Saturday. And on Sunday, it was listed as temporarily closed when I got to the park. And at about 1 o'clock, they switched it as closed for the day. So I wasn't expecting to get on it. But around 4 o'clock, I was getting in line for Batman. I just heard the rumble of Superman, and sure enough, look and see an entire full train. So I head over there, as did a large chunk of the park, and they were able to get the ride open for the last 2.5 hours of the day, which was fantastic to get back on that coaster. Um, it was running a tad slow considering how cold it was, but I'm just appreciative they were able to get it open even for 2 hours. Um, Bubble Gaming, worst coaster, Six Flags New England. It used to be Mind Eraser with the old restraints, but now I guess you. Well, it also used to be Goliath with before they removed it at the end, but right now, Great Chase. The current coasters there aren't bad. Stanford Bridge. I have seen the 1977 film roller coaster. The finale's quite funny with what happens with Revolution. Uh, John Feliciano, what are your thoughts on Skyrush's new restraints? I haven't ridden Skyrush yet this year. I've never had a big problem with the restraints, but I'm glad that the ride will be more popular. And the new Intamin restraints are very comfortable. So I'd say that they are going to be more comfortable than the old restraints were. But I have heard that the lateral bracing was increased, so the laterals are a little less severe than they used to be. But it still should be an amazing ride. Um, Coasting the Planet, which university did you attend? I went to an engineering school. I'll leave it at that. Lake Show 86. How's Wicked Cyclone running? Haven't been on in a few years. Wicked Cyclone tends to run its best in the cold. It was flying this past weekend. You can always tell it's flying when you get an ejector pop into the brake run, even in the back row, and that was happening consistently all weekend, even on the early cycles in the day. Leo B, your sad surf coaster left your top 100, but that's fair. You gave a great review of the underrated ride. Yeah, that has to be one of the most shocking coasters I've been on. I was not expecting that ride to be, a top 100 coaster and have that much airtime. I was expecting another pretty mild jet coaster, which I'd ridden a lot of those in Japan up to that point. Uh, Lucan Polel, did you ride Mind Blower after the retrack? Because you barely got any airtime on it. I have ridden it since the retrack. I thought the airtime was still really strong. It was kind of weird going from the really smooth sections to some bumpy bits, but I enjoyed the ride more than I had the past few years. Carlisle coasters, favorite element of Wicked Cyclone. I like that outward bank. The first outward bank, the one that's um, buried in the turnaround. Arlo Productions, thoughts on Great America upcoming seasons? Any plans to visit? I'm guessing you're talking about California's Great America, considering that park may be closing soon. I hope that park can make it through because the town wants it to stay a park, but we'll see what happens. Red Dragon 84, favorite song from Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. Currently, my favorite song on there is Sandstorm, but they recently changed all the songs. Andrew T, what are your thoughts on visiting lake compounds? I go there mainly for Boulder Dash. It's a very pretty park, very historic. Boulder Dash alone is worth a visit. That one, Capybara. Do you think Hershey Park is the best park in Pennsylvania? It's either that or Knoebels. Both are awesome parks. Ian Mortimer, and are you coming to Canada's Wonderland in 2025? Maybe I'll get up there. I don't know the next time I'll be up there, but I'd like to get to that park soon. Amanda Shaw, did you see the eclipse? Where I was, it was about 90% totality, which um, I'd say it looked like it got a little desaturated outside, but nothing too crazy. Griffin Hartel, best ride Six Flags Great America. For me, Max Force, but Raging Bull, Goliath, and Max Force are a great one, two, three punch. Um, Adrian's Films, how much more would you like Voyage if it had Timberliners? I suspect I would like the ride a little less because the Timberliners seem like they run out of steam on conversions. Like Hades 360 ran, well, not just Hades 360. Hades just ran a lot slower with Timberliners, which is why they had to modify it and have the full train requirement at first. Coaster Maniac, do you know what happened with the new ride at Canopy? So I know the Nebulas is still coming. They tend to be a little slow putting rides in, which is why rides tend to open like in September, October. I imagine it'll open this year, but I haven't driven by this year to see what's up with it. Jared Calhoun. So with over 1,000 credits, what's next to get? Just new countries you've yet to visit. I mean, I've barely been to a lot of places in Asia. Like I've been to the UAE and Japan, but there's a lot of other countries over there that have some good coasters. Leo B, I do consider Top Thrill 2 a new credit because over half the ride is changed by them changing out that launch and adding a spike. Simon Langrer, favorite Disney dark ride, Rise of the Resistance. Bongo Big Goose, which Manta from both SeaWorlds is your favorite? Um, so I have not been on the new one in UAE. That looks like the best one, but I like the flying coaster over the Mach right now. Brian Barber, I have ridden Talon at Dorney Park. It's probably one of the lower inverts for me, but it's still a really fun ride. Stefan Borschiers, I have not been to Dollywood since Lightning Rod got the chain lift. Not sure if I'll be down there this year, but hopefully I'll try at some point. Coasting the Planet, Forbidden Journey or Escape from Gringotts? Easily Forbidden Journey. Coaster Joe, hello? Xantron 7 Coasters, how are you able to travel so much? So I do a lot of travel for work, which helps immensely. So, for example, if I need to be somewhere Tuesday through Thursday, I get a travel day on Monday and Friday. But if I travel on the previous Friday, so say I go to work all day and travel that Friday evening, I can go to parks on the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Do what I need to do for work, and then afterwards, I can also go to parks to get on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and get home and go back to work. Um, so I have a lot of travel with my job, which is why I'm able to get to so many places. Uh, DJ DJ D Dog, just want to say it was a pleasure to meet you last week. You're at Fiesta shows in Salem, New Hampshire right now, so can't wait. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have all their good flat rides like Freak Out and Zipper there, so have fun. John Feliciano, how high is your tolerance for roughness and wood coasters? I'd like to think it's pretty high because I marathon Boulder Dash a lot, and I know that's not the smoothest ride, but um, there are rides that are a little too much, such as Coaster Express before the retrack or Wildcat Lake compounds before this recent retrack was getting a little rough, but I'm optimistic with all the pre-cut track they're putting on. That'll be a tolerable experience this year. Mr. Proro, does Voyage at Holiday World excel in quality in your opinion? Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of really good elements in that ride. And the fact you have so many really good elements plus the speed and setting is what makes that ride so special. Coast Thunder. Did you see Comet at Hershey? Seems like a real fall from grace with the extra trim and buzz bar removal. So I know that ride's always had the trim before the second half. I haven't seen if it's hitting harder than before, but the loss of the buzz bars is definitely going to sting because those first few drops are really good in the back row. Stanford Bridge. Do you have any particular item of clothing you wear when you're hitting the coasters? Um, Usually some type of coaster T-shirt, and then cargo pants with zippered pockets. But outside of that, nothing too crazy. No Name 53. I have not ridden an SFX coaster. I want to because those look really cool. SQN7. Opinion on El Toro. The one in Great Adventure has four amazing moments. The rest of the ride is decent. Um, the one in Germany, the GCI wood coaster, it has a much more unique layout than other GCIs. It has some decent airtime. It does fizzle out at the end, but I like the start of that ride. Adrian's Films, favorite vegetable? I'll go with asparagus. Uh, Lake Show 86. Do you think Six Flags New England will ever replace the Superman restraints? I could see them getting replaced one day when they eventually have to get all new trains. But the fact they just put a lot of work into that lead car makes me think that those trains are here to stay for a while. Uh, Baron, any plans to ride the Chance Toboggan in Ciudad Juarez? So I've ridden two Chance Toboggans. Was not a big fan of them, so I'm not going to exclusively seek those rides out. Um, Alexander Walks 27. Any plans of going to Japan for coasters? Yeah, I've been there before. Loved it, and I'm sure I'll be back at some point. Silver Dollar fan, hello. Leo B, do you think the barrel roll in ISP is the quickest inversion on a coaster? It definitely has to be up there. That first barrel roll really isn't talked about enough. It is extremely whippy. Hello, Lewis Wright. Hello, Adrian's Films. Weirdest experience on a coaster. One that comes to mind is when I rode Dive Coaster Vanish in Japan. So in Japan, apparently, sometimes late at night, people have a lot to drink. And when I was getting on that coaster, the operator stuck what looked like a microphone in front of everyone, and the people in front of me blew into it, and they were told they couldn't ride. Come to find out, it was a breathalyzer, and so they were checking that everyone wasn't drunk before getting on the ride. So wasn't expecting to ever have to take a breathalyzer before getting on a coaster, but happened in Japan. Bubble Gaming, are you visiting Great Escape this year? Definitely. Want to get up there for Bobcat. Chandler Reams, favorite Vekoma, Fly Phantasialand. Amazing positive G's, some freaky airtime, and a really cool visuals. Coasting the Plan. Would you rather Dollywood get a modern dark ride or a new thrill coaster for the next major attraction? Um, Personally, I'd rather the thrill coaster, but a dark ride would really help there on those cold days or when a storm rolls in. Pancake, do you think the Mind Eraser refurb will make the ride more enjoyable? Yeah, getting those new trains will definitely help. I mean, it helped with the Six Flags New England SLC and any other one. Awesome coasters. Opinion on Penguin Trek. Um, it looks like a really nice family coaster and something that SeaWorld or Orlando needed. Bubble Gaming, biggest hot take. Um, I guess one that I commonly get made fun of for is how low I have El Toro, where it wasn't even my top 70. But again, I understand why some people have it as their number one. There are four amazing elements, but it's not as well rounded as my favorite coasters are. Um, Kite. I prefer the Gerstlauer hybrid trains over RMC trains. I find the restraints even better on that ride. Brian Barber, any flat rides your favorite? Two that come to mind are Chaos Pendles and Top Scans when they run intense programs. Silver Dollar City fan, thoughts on Tiana's Bayou adventure? I'm optimistic that ride will turn out good. So obviously, I love the ride system of the log flume, and if it has the same level of like music and visuals as something like Frozen Ever After, I think it'll still be an amazing ride. Andrew T, did you see that Lake Compounds is removing trolley, kitty pirate chip, and the bumper cars this year? Yeah, I did hear about that. It's unfortunate that Palace has removed a few rides from each of their parks. But at least with Lake Compounds, at least they put some investment in to try to fix up Wildcat. Bubble Gaming, biggest US park you've never been to. I believe it would be either Elitch Gardens or Wild Adventures. Amanda Shad, do you think Hyperion will be a top 10 coaster? For me personally, I don't think it will because it looks like it's a bit too short relative to my other top coasters, but it could be a top 25 coaster if it, has amazing pacing. Pancake, which park do you think is better, Kennywood or Dorney Park? I much prefer Kennywood. I love the ride lineup at that park. Mr. Thanksgiving, what will be the better new coaster in the Northeast? Flash or Iron Menace at Dorney Park? I'm excited for both those coasters. I personally think I'll enjoy Flash more, but both should be good rides. Hello, Nerdy Gamer 123. HH Fortnite, do you think the merging of Six Flags and Cedar Fair will be Camp Snoopy and Planet Snoopy's popping up at Six Flags? I would not be surprised because if you look at some of those Six Flags parks, they have multiple kiddie areas. It makes a lot of sense for them to go with one IP in one kiddie area and one IP in another. That way they can double up the merchandise and everything. Uh, Jan Aiden was the worst coaster. I made a video on that recently, but Blue Tornado Gardaland. Take your really rough SLC, but instead of having the like soft foam around your ears, it is they're really hard restraints, which makes that absolutely unbearable. Coaster Joe, thoughts on the sudden closure of Dododonpa? It's unfortunate we're losing the most powerful launch in the world. It was an amazing launch, but Japan takes safety very seriously, and after multiple people had those severe spinal injuries, I get why it wasn't going to reopen. Um, Kip Moore, have you noticed if many other countries overseas have ADA ramps, elevators to the stations like the US? I honestly haven't looked too closely, but I know that other countries handle accessibility as well. Um, I'm sure they have ways to get people on the station that need it. I just haven't paid close enough attention to it. Mr. Probro, which Premier Rides coaster do you think is the best launch? Um, I think most of their launches feel pretty comparable to me. It's hard for me to pick one off the top of my head. Um, Maybe I'll say Mr. Freeze just because it was backwards and that's always fun going. Actually, I'll say Mr. Freeze on that booster launch on the vertical spike just 'cause how weird that feels. Bubble Gaming, any coaster you're truly afraid of? Some of the SLCs that are really painful. Nerdy Gamer 123. Sure, I'll give Ben Odog a shout out. Adrian's Films. What coaster do you want to get burnt down? So the one that comes to mind, just because of how much I hated that ride my first trip, would be Coaster Express. But that would be such an amazing RMC that I don't want that ride to burn down. Um, Pancake, favorite Asian park? Tokyo Disneyland. That's one of my favorite parks in the world. Just amazing service, amazing rides, and amazing atmosphere. Um, Outpost 5 explorations. Do you think Kings Island will use Outpost 5 in the near future? That's Son of Beast, correct? I imagine they'll reuse it at some point because there's still a ton of land over there. Just not sure when. Chris W. Brown, do you plan to visit China or Korea? I definitely would like to get to those two places someday. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Brian Barber, I've seen a lot of your roller coaster reviews that are really good. Yeah, thanks. I try to give as detail as possible. Mr. Thanksgiving, I prefer Disneyland over Disney World. Bubble gaming, favorite pizza place? I love Lou Malnati's in Chicago. Love deep dish pizza. Uh, LJA Shorts. If you could bring back one coaster manufacturer, who would it be? See, I love CCI, but without CCI going defunct, we wouldn't have Gravity Group. So it's kind of hard to pick them, but that's who comes to mind for me. Lake Show 86. Do you think Wildcats Revenge is overrated? I think it's an excellent ride, which is what a lot of people have said about it. I don't think it's like the world's best coaster, but not. I haven't seen too many people saying that, so it seems fairly rated. Adrian's Films. Do you think Lightning Rod will drop the lift hill? It potentially could. Honestly, what scared me more about that whole announcement was getting the lighter trains if it lost momentum through the layout. But it seems like as long as it's not like freakishly cold day, that it still runs really fast through the layout. Leo B, what are your top three bucket list coasters that are already open? Ones that are up there for me are T Express, Coaster Through the Clouds, and trying to think of another good one. And Hakuge. Rodolfo Miranda, do you plan to go to South America for credit hunting and traveling? Definitely for traveling, and I'll ride coasters there in my path. But I'm more about seeking out unique parks and unique experiences rather than just going on a random wacky worm here and there. Big Bongo Big Goose. Will you go on Phoenix Rising when it releases? I definitely will get back to Busch Gardens Tampa. I will. I probably won't be making a specific trip for that one ride, but I'll probably be there within the next year or so. Coast Thunder. Six Flags New England now has three empty plots of land. I think the Contiki space will be a water park edition. What do you think will happen to the other ones? So one thing that my I suspect may happen one day is I feel like their water park is getting big enough that they may one day charge a separate, make it a separate admission, and they could easily do it if they take that Whistle Stop Park next to the main entrance they don't use, and if they make a dedicated water park entrance there. Um, One addition they could really use in the water park side is, especially if Bonsai Pipeline and Typhoon are never going to run again, they could use a more modern water coaster, and then they also don't have a mat racing slide, which is really surprising. Um, Paul Anderson, what do you think about the Fast and Furious ride under construction? I have not seen what the trains look like, but I'm really excited for that coaster, especially with that unique setting. Um, Jared Calhoun, have you ridden Grizzly King's Dominion post refurb? Yeah, I didn't find Grizzly rough even in 2022, but I was able to get back to the park last year, got some night rides on, and had a really good time. Um, Chris W. Brown, what is the age limit for people riding roller coasters? So I know Fuji Q Highland had some age limits for their coasters. That's the one park I know of that actually has an age limit. I don't know about other parks. LJ Shorts, do you think Magic Mountain will get a next coaster with the removal of their theater? Do you think it's possible? So there was a leak that it will be in a Skyline, like dueling Piscetti Bowl coaster. I hope that's not what it is because that's a pretty unique plot of land, but it does make sense considering it's next to the kids area. Awesome coasters, favorite mock rides. Helix and Ride to Happiness come to mind. Um, Simon Langer, favorite Universal Dark ride. They have some really good ones, but I'm gonna say Forbidden Journey. Hello Mavericks Heartline Roll. Um, Bubble Gaming. What's the longest amount of time you'd wait for a coaster? See, it also depends upon when I'll realistically be back at that park. So, like, if I'm at a park and say I was at Nagashima Spa Land and everything there had like a 5 hour wait, I would wait 5 hours for Hakuge just because I haven't been on it. So, um, that answers that. So, Brady, thank you for the super chat. That's really nice. I don't see a question in there. If you want a question, feel free to feel free to shoot one. But yeah, thanks again. That's really generous. Um, Sorry, I lost my spot in the other chat. Crystal Lee Brown, do you know that Bobcast Gravity Group's first coaster for the Six Flags franchise? Yeah, I'm looking forward to them working with Six Flags more. They are they make some great rides, especially those small scale Woodies packing a lot. The Impulse Coaster Addict. What do you think will be next removed from Cedar Point? Um, have they officially removed Snake River Expedition? I know that's not reopening again, from what it sounds like. It's hard for me to say what they'll remove next. To be honest, I haven't paid super close attention. Do they still have those two sets of antique cars, or do they only have one at this point? If they have two, maybe I'll say one of those. Mr. Probro, is the quad down Air Force One of your favorite elements of any coaster, or is it too much? So I prefer Lightning Rod's quad down just because of the setting, but Air Force One's quad down's amazing, and I can definitely tolerate it. It's not a problem at all. Um, Coasting the planet. Which area and ride are you most excited for at Epic Universe? Um, Rides definitely Starfall Racers, just because I love Mach's newer coasters, and the interactivity between the two sides looks amazing. Mr. Thanksgiving, do you think the rumors of another new coaster at Great Adventure in 2025 are true? I hope so. I don't I haven't seen anything concrete that, a 2025 coaster is happening, but I'd love another big addition for that park. LJA Shorts, most overrated coaster in your opinion? Um, Based on my taste, El Toro's kind of overrated just because it's, nowhere near my top 10 anymore, but I understand why people have it so highly. Um, Sebastian Ballenboy, Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk or Maurice Pierce? I prefer Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. I love Giant Dipper, and just love the setting of that park. How many rides take advantage of the beach. Adrian's Mr. Thanksgiving. Have you ever ridden Batman and Robin the Chiller? I didn't get on before it closed, unfortunately. Adrian's Films. You're going to King's Dominion and Carowinds. Any recommendations? Um, both those parks are awesome. At King's Dominion, I like to start with Twisted Timbers. Because if you head there right at opening, you usually get a nice marathon that ride before the line backs up. Um, for Carowinds, Fury can sometimes be a little finicky with assigned seating. So sometimes even well at Carowinds, if Nighthawk's open, you want to do that first if you can beat everyone there. Otherwise, that line's the worst line in the park. But Fury sometimes has assigned seating, and when it does, it can be strict sometimes. So you want to try to ride that a ton of times so you can, get all the seats. Silver Dollar City fan, do you think the new Fire in the Hole is a good ride? I know you haven't ridden it yet. From what I've heard, the theming is an upgrade. The one thing I'm not sure about is if it lost the ejector airtime in the back car because I haven't seen any reviews mention the airtime. I'm hoping that didn't go away, but I'm also wondering if it did. Christopher Powell, worst countries for queue line jumping. I saw a lot of it was at Poland. I know Spain has a lot of it as well. 2IQ, do you think Lightning Rod opening year was the greatest roller coaster ever created? Considering I loved it after the launch had been cut off sooner, um, I imagine it probably would have been even better for me. Moon Willow, did you see the eclipse yesterday? We got a partial eclipse where I lived. It got a little dark, but nothing near like the people in the path of totality. Bubble Gaming, do you often ride kiddie coasters for the credit? If it doesn't sacrifice too much time, yeah, I'll ride a kiddie coaster. LJA Shorts, Magic Mountain or Great Adventure? I prefer Magic Mountain mainly for the coasters. Um, SHMO, I do not know if I'll be at Canada's Wonderland this year, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to going back there. Lugan Powell, favorite basketball team? Definitely the Celtics, and hopefully they can win a championship this year because, um, you know, their roster's stacked. Amusement events. I don't necessarily think Six Flags and Cedar Fair will sell some of the smaller parks after the merger, but maybe even longer till they get big additions. Um, Adrian's Films. Are there coasters out there you regret riding? Honestly, it's more coasters that I miss that are more frustrating. Um, just because I was at Kings Dominion, I saw Hypersonic XLC run, didn't get on it. Basically, I had 2 days at the park a long time ago, and the first day, the park was slammed. So I decided I'll wait for Hypersonic on day 2. Well, it didn't open day 2, so I never got on it. That guy, you're doing a US trip in June, East Coast, hitting Six Flags Great Adventure, King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, and Ride Playland. Do you have any tips for visiting these parks for the first time? Um, if wind's in the forecast, definitely prioritize King to Con Pantheon because those two rides are sensitive to the wind. Bubble gaming. How many of your trips are amusement parks? I try to visit amusement parks whenever I travel, so I'd say I try to incorporate them into like 80% of my travels. Cactus LOL. Of all the states that don't have a coaster, which will get one first? I could see probably Hawaii, just because so many tourists go there. They could easily put in like some type of small park by the popular areas, and people would go to it. Moon Willow. USA credit you're most surprised that you don't have. Um, yeah, that's a tough one. I guess Louisiana and Colorado are two that come to mind. Um, the Impulse Coaster Addict. What major coaster do you see leaving Cedar Point and Kings Island? I feel like for Cedar Point, the next coaster to leave might be Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Not sure. And then Kings Island, I'm guessing it would be in Vertigo. LJ Shorts. Sure, I'll give a quick shout out to Theme Park Addicted. Hey Siri, do you think the new launch coaster will open in the next 3 years at Six Flags New England? I hope they get a launch coaster eventually. But the thing with Six Flags New England is they have far and away the best coaster lineup in New England. They have the best thrill rides in New England. They could not add a new coaster in 20 years, and they would still be considered the thrill capital of New England. Where I think it's most advantageous for them to invest is in the water park side, because that's where the other parks are competitive with them in the region. Obviously, I'd prefer to see them add a bunch of coasters, but unfortunately, that park doesn't really need to with how they attract crowds currently. Lake Show 86. Do you think Busch Gardens Williamsburg needs a family invert, or could they use something else? So, if you look at that park on any given day, their family coasters are super, super popular. So, it definitely makes sense to add another family coaster to help lighten the demand off the ones they have. Um, Awesome coasters. Funplex has an age limit. Which one? I've been to Funplex and never had a problem. Uh, Bum Bumbies. I think the leak was an April Fool's joke. I wouldn't be surprised. I was a little cautious considering it came out on April Fools, but I didn't put too much stock into it. Um, if it is a Skyline Attraction Spaghetti Bowl, it makes sense, but we'll see what happens. Bubble Gaming, most famous person you met. Um, See, I guess that's a tough question because, like, at Fenway Park, they have this area after the game where you can go over and try to get autographs of players. So, I said a word to David Ortiz when I was a kid, but yeah, I don't know if you count that or not. Brass Pack, do you think the rumored launched wing coaster for King's Dominion is a good fit? I think that's going to be a really popular ride for that park. Um, so I think it's a smart addition. It's a safe addition. A Magic Production, will Canby Lake Park ever add a new coaster? And what do you think that park will add next? So, considering they go from a kiddie coaster up to Yankee Cannonball, which is a 48-inch height limit, I'd really like to see them add a family coaster that has some thrill to it. One ride I'd love to see would be like a mock spinning coaster because they have like a 42-inch height limit, and I'd argue that could be the park's best coaster. So, something like that would be great for them. Hello, Mark Miller. Uh, Baron, any tips for hitting the Madrid parks on the same day? So I've done that before on a layover. This was before Batman was built. Um, so Parque de Atracciones de Madrid, if you only care about the coasters, you can get through that park fairly quickly. The only thing to watch out for is they do have minimum rider limits on Abismo and Tornado. So if you don't have a full train for those rides, you may have to wait a little bit. Um, but you hypothetically could get through that whole park in like when I say the whole park, you could get through all the coasters there within 2 hours and then have the rest of the time for Parque Warner Madrid because they're pretty close to each other. Xantron 7 coasters. Have you ever made Connect's Lego coasters? A long time ago. I'm glad I did it, but it's not something I, really felt the need to do again just because of how much time it took. Logan Benjamin, congratulations on 34K. Top 5 editions for 2024. So the two that come to mind for me are Voltron and Hyperia. Those are the two, those look like the two best new coasters. Um, it's tough to say for the next three at the top of my head, but those are the two that come to mind. 2IQ, favorite pinball table. I really like the Monopoly machine I played a few years ago just because of how much obstacles that one had. Patrick Stuff, do you think the United Parks will keep adding family editions across the chain, or do you think they'll go back to the constant thrill editions? So at a lot of their parks, the family rides tend to have the longer waits. So it makes sense for them to add more in that area. I imagine they'll also add thrill coasters too because they love marketing those record breaking rides. Hello, Glass Boys. Jamin Yole, favorite moment of laterals. Ghost Rider's final helix come to mind just because of how sustained and powerful they are, but there are quite a few good ones out there. Bubble gaming. I have been an enthusiast for as long as I can remember. Maverick's Heartline roll. What was the funniest thing you ever heard someone else on a train say when riding a coaster? I'm gonna keep this one G because I've heard some very funny stuff I cannot say on the stream. Um, I remember that I think it was Prowler at Worlds of Fun. Someone just kept yelling "chicken wing" or chicken wing" the whole ride, which was kind of weird to yell. Um, Velocity rides. You're making a backyard roller coaster. Wish me luck. Yeah, best of luck. Hopefully the ride turns out well. Um, Leo B, judging from POVs, do you think Dino Condo would be inferior or superior to Edgenica? To be honest, I don't think I've really seen a POV of Dino Condo like back to back with Edgenica. Both rides, Edgenica is amazing, and I'm sure Dino Condo is as well. LJA Shorts, worst ride you've been on that's not an SLC or a boomerang. So I just made a video of my worst coasters, so that'll answer that question for you in greater detail. Um, Bubble gaming, is there a coaster that you don't understand why people like? Um, See, there are some that I think are overrated, but I get why people like them, so I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head. Mr. Proro, strongest airtime you've ever felt in a roller coaster. One that comes to mind is Wild Train at Fantasiana in Austria. That ride has some vicious airtime, especially for how small that ride is. Eli, the YouTube guy, best memory at a park not related to a coaster. There's a lot of great memories at Disneyland being there with my wife and family, so those ones come to mind. Chandler Reams, favorite roller coaster in the Cedar Fair chain, definitely Steel Vengeance. Love how much airtime that ride has. Oregon Coaster Enthusiast, would you consider doing a best one-two punch list? Yeah, I might make that one in the future. I almost made it this year, but I just ran out of time towards the start of the year to make that one. Um, Jamin Yule, how many currently operating coasters have you ridden in the USA? I don't have a way to calculate that very easily, quickly off the top of my head. I feel like it has to be close to like just rough guess, maybe 800, 900. But I don't know the breakdown of US versus international off the top of my head. LJA Shorts, any recommendations for SeaWorld Orlando, Busch Gardens, Tampa, Williamsburg? All three of those are amazing parks. For Busch Gardens Tampa, definitely try to ride Iron Gwazi at the end of the night because that ride absolutely flies at the end of the night. Um, and then Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, if you can go on a day with a late close, do it because they have a lot of great night rides at that park. Um, Asteroplex, just went on a trip to Hershey Park and loved it. What's your favorite ride, Hershey? Skyrush. I love how strong the airtime and laterals are. Bubble gaming is a hot dog, a sandwich. I don't think it is one, but I definitely see the argument. Magnum Nas, you doing a little Phantom review sometime soon. So thank you for the super chat. I have done a little Phantom review. I did that one a few years ago. So if you want to check that one out, it's there. And thank you again for the super chat. Uh, Deranged Lefty, thank you again for the super chat. Huge fan. You've got the best coaster channel, best coaster content out here, and your copyright free footage is a godsend for so many creators. Keep up the good work, man. Yeah, thanks again for the kind words. And I really appreciate when other people have copyright free footage because it helps me out a ton. So I like to, pay it back to people. Uh, Sorry, to try to figure out where I was in the chat. Um, Airtime Axel. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Airtime Axolotl. Favorite inversion on Intamin. I would go with the Mosasaurus roll. I mean, that inversion's placement and ferocity is amazing. Coaster Boy 325. You're going to Adventureland, Iowa, and Valley Fair this year. Do Renegade and Monster live up to the hype? I definitely think they do. They're the two best rides at that park easily. Oregon Coaster Enthusiast. New Fire in the Hole is a very fun and overall an upgrade, but the ejector at the end was weakened from my ride, unfortunately. I had a hunch that ejector might be lost, which is really a shame, but I'm not too surprised considering how unexpected that was in the old one. Coasting the Planet. Does your family watch your channel? Um, I wouldn't say they watch a ton of the videos, but they definitely are supportive of it. Um, Triple Cripple. If you could have a park with your favorite coasters, what coasters would be in it? So obviously, I'm a huge fan of RMCs and the newer Intamins. So those are two things that I definitely have in my parks. Um, Sorry, lost my spot again. Sorry, I fell way behind in the chat and don't even. Oh, I think I found where. Moon Willow, worst food you've ever had at a park. If you saw my top Parkus Reunidos video, you'll know what food I had there that was awful. They had this thing called. I ordered a burger there, and the buns were black the whole way through, and the patty itself just wasn't like a normal burger color. It was like brownish almost. It was absolutely disgusting. After one bite, I had to throw it out. Uh, Bongo Big Goose, favorite ride in general, no lightning rod. My second favorite ride, Steel Vengeance, so I'll say that. Silver Dollar City fan, favorite park at Walt Disney World. For me, Magic Kingdom, just because of the sheer quantity of rides and I like the theming there. Hello, California Coasting. Coastal Soaring, favorite Six Flags Great America roller coaster. For me, Max Force, but they have a lot of good ones. RCE Kingston, how do you feel about doing collabs with other creators? Are you more a solo type of person or do you enjoy collaborating? I think with perspective of YouTube, I think it's easier to do solo videos just because of how the timing wise, I don't feel stressed having to collaborate with other people. Um, I'm happy to if people reach out to me, I'm happy to help out if there's a little part I can do in someone else's video. Um, but in terms of like big collabs, I kind of like to have my own schedule to pick what I want to do when I want to do it because I just do this for fun. Maverick's Heartline roll. Sure, I can shout out Isaac de Belois. Sorry if I butchered that name. I haven't seen that last name before. Mr. Probro, does Goliath's 255-foot drop at Magic Mountain have any airtime at all in the back? It has a little floater airtime, but nothing too crazy. Airtime Axolotl, least favorite park. For me, I would go with NASCAR Speed Park in Sevierville. Mainly because of their offerings and also because the staff lied about availability to try to get me to buy a wristband, and let's just say they didn't have much open when I was there. Um, Mesmers, hey Canopy, I'm the guy that let others know of Zigzag at Sky Zone Danvers' closure. Curious to know that trip where you were there solely to collect the credit. So I was in the area for work, like 10 minutes away. So it wasn't that much of a detour at all. So yes, I went to Sky Zone specifically for that ride, but it wasn't like I went, too far out of the way. California coasting. Ghost Rider's my favorite coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, without a doubt. Christopher Powell, do you watch any other theme park YouTubers? Yeah, like I like looking for up reviews and rankings and countdowns of parks that I'm about to visit or recently visited just to get a feel for it. So I'd say I look more for specific types of content rather than, always going to one specific content creator for every single video. Um, LJA Shorts, most hated Six Flags park to you. My least favorite Six Flags park is Frontier City, just because it doesn't have the ride lineup of the others, but it is a nice looking park. I would say the Six Flags park that shoots itself in the foot the most would be Discovery Kingdom. That park has so much potential, but it's just not run the best. Hello, Texan Coasters. Tessie Gamer Dog, are you going to 2024 Screamfest? I didn't get to Screamfest last year. I'd like to try to get there this year. Bubble Gaming, would you marathon Blue Tornado for $100,000? Yeah, I could buy enough Advil to deal with that. Um, Coasting the planet. What could you see King's Dominion doing with Project 305 long term? Not sure what they're going to rename that. I suspect it'll be something related to Jungle Expedition. I hope they pick something that begins with I, so you can still call it I 305, but we'll see what happens. Uh, Magnum Nas, did you actually ride Ring Racer or did you make it up for April Fools? I did not ride Ring Racer. I wish I did, but that whole video was a joke. Um, what would 2IQ? What would a surf coaster layout have to be a 10 out of 10? I'd say if they could put those trains on like a B&M Hyper, that would be a 10 out of 10 ride. Michael Jones, what coaster would you want to see arm seed most? So the two that come to mind for me are Coaster Express and Magnus Colossus at Terra Medica, just because both those rides, they have a lot of potential considering their sheer size. Adrian's Films, do you like Chick Fil A? Oh, I really like Chick Fil A, especially their breakfast sandwiches. Coaster Enthusiast 101, what coaster would you recommend for Great America? Um, so obviously there's multiple Great Americas. For for the one in Illinois, I'd love to see like a big RMC hybrid. Um, I just don't know if that's going to happen, but I wish it would. Hayden Forsyth, I have not met Derek Therian. Uh, Wazowski sings. What's your opinion on Iron Menace? I think it's a great fit for Dorney Park. Hopefully it draws big crowds to them, and it should be a pretty well paced dive coaster. Um, Silver Dollar City fan, what would you think if Magic Kingdom got Radiator Springs Racers? That'd be amazing because Magic Kingdom's already an awesome park, and that would be one of the best rides there. Lone Legend, favorite ride Hershey Park, Sky Rush. Adrian's Films, what is a coaster so bad it's good? Um, I'm gonna say Title Twister at SeaWorld San Diego. I went in expecting an absolutely atrocious ride, but that ride had some really good hang time before it was removed. Um, Texan Coasters, Steel Vengeance is my favorite coaster at Cedar Point. A Magic Production, favorite haunted attraction in New England. Does not have to be at an amusement park. So I love the Carnival haunt at Canby Lake Park, so I'll say that one. Stefan Brochiers. I don't. I'd like to see Knobles had something big for their anniversary in 2026. Just not sure, if they're going to, because that park, marches to the beat of their own drum. Chasing Thrills. What would you rate Six Flags over Georgia? I don't really rate parks 1 to 10, but I'd say it's a very good park. Triple Cripple. If there was one ride you could ride any day, anytime, what would it be? I'd have to cheat and say my favorite ride, Lightning Rod. Coaster Enthusiast 101. On that note, my favorite RMC is Lightning Rod, but I have not ridden it since the chain lift was added. Chris O'Grady. Any advice how to get your chosen row in a coaster? It depends on the ride. Obviously, it's easiest if you can just queue for a specific row. Otherwise, I find it tends to help if you are the first person entering the platform. And then just ask nicely. Worst case, they say no. Best case, you get the seat you want. Lone Legend. Thoughts on Wildcats Revenge? Amazing pacing and a really good ride. Moon Willow. Smoothies or milkshakes? Neither. I do not like sweets. Caleb Kuroda. Do you think Scream and Riddler's Revenge should be removed? I don't think it makes sense for Magic Mountain to remove both those rides. Scream would make sense to remove just because, at another park, it'd be a standout ride. At Magic Mountain, it's just another ride. But I don't think it's going to be removed. Bailey Needham, do you eat Mexican? I can't eat beans, but I do like burritos just without beans. Bell, Hakuge or Zadra? I have not ridden Hakuge, but it looks amazing. I love Zadra though. Um, Hello Mason, that weird guy. Hello Andy G. Uh, Lone Legend, Twisted Timbers or I 305. I prefer Intimidator at this time, but both are amazing rides. Velocity rides. What's the dumbest thing you've heard a GP say at a park? Um, I've probably heard some crazy stuff. It's hard for me to pinpoint one off the top of my head, though. Hayden Forsyth, is Millennium Falcon a good ride? As long as you're not engineer, it is. Hello, Thrills of Coldplay. Coaster Enthusiast 101. You want Millennium Forceless to be retired? I definitely don't want that ride to be retired. I really like that coaster. Well, the Cedar Point one, not the knockoff Millennium Force. Um, that ride in the front row is amazing. Chris O'Grady, what do you do when people push through a queue line with an excuse like my bag's in the station? I'm pretty passive, so I don't usually say anything, but usually the best response is go up the exit then. Bailey Needham, I consider Orion a Giga. Uh, Indie coaster creator, thoughts on Primordial, and do you plan to come back to Lagoon at some point for it? I definitely plan to go back to Lagoon, just don't know when. Um, Velocity rides. Where are some parks that allow on-ride filming with GoPros? Will Fair and Six Flags parks allow it? Those two parks do not allow on-ride filming. Um, SeaWorld parks are the biggest chain in the US that allow it. It's more widely allowed overseas. Hayden Forsyth, are Kennywood Skyrockets trains too tight and spunky for your liking? I definitely find them awkward to get in and out of. I also don't like row three in those Skyrocket trains because of how you have that metal plate behind your legs, so you get really boxed in. But row one and two are fine once you're seated. There's hard getting in and out of. Mr. Probro, will you make a top 50 strongest airtime moments video? That might be a tricky one to do because there's a lot of good airtime moments, but I'll consider it in the future. Tyler Lindgren, any tips for Universal Orlando in one day? Take advantage of the single rider lines for many rides. Um, Velocicoaster single rider line is not a good one to use. That one takes a really long time. And then get in line for Hagrid's right at park close. Bailey Needham is driving in Mexico City. It looked it. I've never driven in Mexico. I've always used Uber or Lyft. Oregon Coaster Enthusiast. Three largest U.S. parks you've not been to. Probably Glenwood Caverns, Elish Gardens, and Wild Adventures. Hello, George Floyd Gaming. Bigfoot, what is your home park? Technically Edaville, functionally it is Lake Compounds and Six Flags New England. Uh, Bubble Gaming, most underrated ride force. Um, there are a lot of good ride forces. I like airtime, hang time, positive G's, laterals. Hard to pick one that's underrated though. Hayden Forsyth, I have not ridden Craze Rider. Theme Park 101, what is your favorite theme park in Asia? Tokyo Disneyland. Adrenaline. Oops, sorry, I lost my spot. Crud, where? There it is. Adrenaline Central. Do you know why Superman the Ride was only running one train and or when the other train will be ready? So I could see the other train pieces next to Wicked Cyclone. In the past, they usually have the second train ready to go a few weeks after the season opens. I hope that's the case with spring break coming up. I suspect it'll be on the track by the end of the month. Lone Legend, have you been on Skyrush with the new restraints? Not yet. Uh, Log Go Dover. My cat's sitting on my legs right now. Yeah, the kittens are not allowed in here right now. I'm live streaming. My webcam is a little finicky where if anyone touches the cable, it'll crash the live stream. This has happened before. And unfortunately, they like to go after wires, so they're not allowed in here right now. Adrian's Films. I do not eat falafel because I cannot eat beans. Triple Cripple was one defunct coaster you wish you could ride. For me, it would be Eagles Fortress at Everland. That ride looked amazing between the pacing and setting. Bailey Needham. Sorry, which? Uh, Relaxing study, mediation, sleep, focus music. I prefer both Busch Gardens parks over SeaWorld Orlando. All are amazing, but I like the Busch Gardens parks. Um, Patrick Stuff. What's your opinion on the Velocibesties? I do not know what that is. Coaster Dragon 155. If a roller coaster that currently doesn't have a soundtrack, which ones need one? I would say most indoor coasters that don't have music because that would be really helpful for the atmosphere. Wazowski sings thoughts on Flash at Great Adventure if and when it opens. So I'm thinking that's not going to be open until like the fall Fright Fest at this point. I hope I'm wrong, but there just hasn't been too much progress. It looks like a great coaster when it opens, though. Lone Legend, definitely ride happiest over Time Traveler. Bryce Clark, yes, I can give a shout out to Sasha and Muffin. So just a heads up, I'm probably gonna stop around 9. I was planning to stream for an hour, and my voice is starting to go. So I'm probably gonna stop shortly. Just a heads up. I'll try to get as many questions as I can before 9, but I'm gonna probably be stopping soon. But um, so I'll just keep running through. Rad Bricks, you want to say how much you love the channel? Thank you for uploading the POVs and off-ride footage. Yeah, I definitely like to get as much content out there as I can to help people out. Bubble Gaming, Intra Southern Coasters, big sports fan. Caleb Kuroda, do you think Six Flags Magic Mountain is due for a family coaster? Yeah, that's fair after their past few coasters that had pretty high height limits and thrills. Mr. Probro, I do gray out on Mr. Freeze at Over Texas. Not really cracking at SeaWorld, though. Favorite element on Poltergeist at Fiesta Texas is the final corkscrew. Intimidator, thoughts on the Vekoma Flying Dutchman. I like how forceful they are. I like the rides overall. Nighthawk's corkscrews are uncomfortable, but the rides otherwise are pretty good. Velocity rides, least favorite coaster and flat ride. Least favorite coaster is Blue Tornado. Flat ride's harder to pinpoint off the top of my head. Triple crippling. I think you need to scroll down. Yeah, I try to keep up with the chat because I like to try to answer as many questions as I can, so I inevitably always fall behind. Um, Bubble Gaming, actual rarest credit. Um, Probably Blue Flash because that was a backyard coaster, but I don't know if that's technically the rarest one I've been on. Awesome coasters. Mako's amazing in both the front and back row. Well, actually, it's good in any row, but those are the two rows I like best. And I'll stop at this one, just like I said, it's getting to the point where I was going to stop. Um, Danny D, with rumors of a new coaster for the Goliath Plot Six Flags New England for next year, what do you think will go there? So one thing that I think makes a lot of sense for the park would be a mock Power Splash, just because it would give them a launch coaster and a much needed water ride. Um, I'd prefer something else, but that's what I think would make a lot of sense given their needs. So thanks again, everyone who joined. Like I said, my voice is going, and I plan to stream for about an hour. Um, if there's any questions I didn't answer that you really want, feel free to post them as a comment, and I'll uh, be sure to get back to you on them. But thanks again for joining, and have a good rest of the night. Thanks again for all the support.